A new documentary about one of New York City's most notable mayors.
I'm John Lindsay. I was born in New York City and I've lived here all my life. And I'm running for mayor because I know that our city is in a crisis.
He was running for mayor, but he looked like a president. It's called Fun City Revisited, the Lindsay Years. Joining us is the filmmaker and executive producer, Tom Casciotto, excuse me, sir. Also,
along with him, Sam Roberts, who wrote a book called America's Mayor, John V. Lindsay, and the Reinvention of New York. Welcome both to you, Sam. Of course, we know you from the New York Times.
Thank you, Rosanna.
And, of course, this book and this documentary, the topic is the same, but they're not related.
Correct.
Okay. So how are you two together?
Well, it's a joint project, really, by the Museum of the City of New York and Channel 13. It was time to look back at John Lindsay while some of the people who worked for the administration are still around. It's 10 years since his death, almost 50 years since he was elected, and time to reflect on what kind of mayor he was and what the legacy was for this city.
What kind of mayor was he, Tom?
He was an inspirational mayor. There are so few politicians in anyone's lifetime who continue to inspire the people who followed them long after their deaths. I think of Senator Kennedy for his followers, I think of President Reagan for his followers, and I think of one mayor, and that's John Lindsay, who was just made an indelible mark on New York.
Sam, was he a failed mayor?
He wasn't a failed mayor. There were certain things he failed at, certainly social programs, but remember what the legacy was. He kept New York from burning. Sounds quaint now, but it was true. And he attracted people to government who really endured and made an impact. And he started programs that we bear the fruits of today.
Did you find that he got blamed for things that he really shouldn't have been blamed for?
Well, he got blamed for a lot of things. He got blamed for the fiscal crisis. No question he contributed to it, but he did cause it. It really began under Bob Wagner. And there was no one who was ambivalent about John Lindsay. If you look at your dad, Greg, who was a police sergeant at City Hall, or your dad, a distinguished labor leader and ally of John Lindsay, if we had them here, there'd be a very spirited debate about what kind of mayor John Lindsay was.
Just about everybody of a certain age has kind of touched the Lindsay administration. A lot of noteworthy people in public life. In 1972, he runs for president. He bolts the Republican Party. It was a disastrous campaign, I think, right?
It was a disastrous campaign.
Why didn't he appeal nationally?
I'm not sure any mayor running for president would ever appeal nationally. I think Lindsay may have gotten the idea that because he had kept New York from burning, that he would be looked at as someone who could bring that kind of leadership to the entire country. He also ran on an anti-Vietnam platform, and as we know from the 1972 election, McGovern ran on the same one and he got murdered.
Can we show what he looks like again? Roll some video of Mayor Lindsay. I mean, he was physically, Sam, you both spent time with him.
He was fresh, wasn't that the slogan?
He was fresh and everyone else was tired.
He was tall, right?
He was charismatic. He defined charisma.
What is it about New York mayors? Because quite frankly, they as a group, they're not physically imposing. If you look at the last several mayors, they're average height, short. I mean, he really was a standout. You looked at him and people thought, this guy's going to be president.
He was a star, and one of the problems was his political advisors confused celebrity with popularity. He was a celebrity. People wanted his autograph. That certainly didn't mean they were going to vote for him. And he had the great advantage in running for mayor in New York of running against, both times, two conservative opponents, and sort of a perfect political storm that got him elected, not with a majority either time, but enough to become the mayor of New York.
But it is the first thing everyone says about him when you interview them. Tall, short, black, white, gay, straight, whatever, they say, man, was he good looking.
Yeah, he was very charming.
Was he shallow? Was he? That was the word on him, that he wasn't an intellectual, and that's fine. But was there shallowness there?
He was smart. He knew what he wanted to do. I think he was very decent. He had an enormously good heart. He had an enormous empathy before that became a dirty word for black, Hispanic, poor people, and. Unfortunately, not everything he tried worked, but he did leave a legacy of accomplishment.
For the first time, many young people are going to be seeing this documentary. I mean, they have no idea who he is and where he stands in New York history. What do you hope young people get out of this?
Well, I hope they see that this was a fantastic time in our history, that the events were just huge. The garbage strike, the transit strike.
The snowstorm.
The snowstorm. We used generous doses of music from the era, which I think is going to make a lot of people happy, both those who reminisce about it and those who still realize how great it is today.
Mayor Lindsay. What did Mike Quill call him? He made fun of him, right?
Mayor Lindsay is what he called him, indeed.
Tell us about Mike Quill. Who was he?
Well, Mike Quill was head of the Transport Workers Union, and Lindsay walked in on his first day as mayor, January 1st, 1966, into a transit strike. And one of the reasons for that was he said, I'm going to take on the power brokers, and that's not how you dealt with Mike Quill. You dealt with him like Bob Wagner, the previous mayor, did. You schmoozed with him, you accommodated him, and ultimately at 4 in the morning, you'd walk out and say, we've got a settlement.
Can I ask you this real quick? He died in South Carolina 10 years ago, but Lindsay, who a lot of people thought was patrician, wealthy, died relatively poor. Is that fair to say?
Not poor, but in his last years, he didn't have health insurance, something that's a reminder to all of us today. And Rudy Giuliani and Peter Vallone combined and gave him a city job, to cover his health insurance and provide a little bit of income. He was not poor, but he was never really that rich. Patrician, yes.
Sam Roberts, Tom Cosciuto, thank you so much for coming in and sharing your expertise and information on John Lindsay.
You can check out Sam's book. It's called America's Mayor, John B. Lindsay and the Reinvention of New York. And the documentary is called Fun City Revisited, the Lindsay Years, on PBS tomorrow.
Yes, and the exhibit is going on. So if you want information on the exhibit, please go to myfoxny.com, click on the Good Day tab, and we'll tell you how long it's running and the times that you can go and see this.
I met him once, by the way, at police headquarters. I escorted him to his car.
Yeah,
he was looking
I met
for
him
his
too.
car.
I was so young, all I remember was, boy, this guy is good looking.
And
Even back then.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Thank you.
Stay connected with myfoxny.com mobile. Download the iPhone app or text Fox 5 to 46988 for other devices. Local news, weather, and traffic on the go with myfoxny.com mobile.